I think this really needs a rework.
Yep.
I think there needs to be a queue system. I think there needs to be a way to tell if a map is full or not, right? So you don't even waste your time trying to join. And probably there does need to be... Now, this is definitely my hottest take. This is my hottest take step, I admit this. But I think there may need to be a system that allows you to create your own maps. I think what I'm going to talk about today is a sleeper issue with the game. And it's actually one that I think everyone can relate to. I think everyone would probably agree with me as a bit of a sleeper problem. And that's the map system in Guild Wars 2. I think it actually is in desperate need of a rework. Actual desperate need of a rework.
When you say map system, do you mean like you press M and can look around the map? Or do you mean like when you go into different maps and they have the map reward system and those sorts of things? What do you mean?
I mean the map instancing system.
Oh, yeah. That needs help.
That's what I mean. Okay? That's what I mean. Because
I feel like they went backwards from Guild Wars 1.
It really got it really got showed up, I think, with Ender Dragons. Because do you remember like early Dragon's End, and actually not even Dragon, like early literally any meta event in the entire expansion was like impossible to get into with your whole squad. You just couldn't join because they went full immediately. I think this really needs a rework.
Yep.
I think there needs to be a queue system. I think there needs to be a way to tell if a map is full or not, right? So you don't even waste your time trying to join. And probably there does need to be... Now, this is definitely my hottest take. This is my hottest take step, I admit this. But I think there may need to be a system that allows you to create your own maps.
Ooh.
Or at least
so
influence the creation of a new map.
But how do you distinguish this between just creating private instances for all maps? Because to me, that's effectively the same thing. Because if you have a queue system and everything for a map, wouldn't this mean that the problem that we've discussed before of people just all congregating with other people that are all very skilled and then excluding all of the newer players, wouldn't that just happen?
Well,
but even harder?
Here's the thing. I would say that the way you counter this is by having it set up such that all maps are publicly listed. All of them. Like, every single one that exists is listed somewhere. And on the whole private instance...
still exist.
And the private instance thing. Can't you already do that now? Right? In a pretty big way? Because if you know, we did a speed run, right? And I think the lads on NA did as well. All we did was we just all joined at the same time, and it force created a new map. So it's not like you can't do this. You can. You just have to do a bit of tech. And this is not like new technology, right? Like everyone always used to do this with Triple Trouble. You'd always try and make a new map for Triple Trouble. So yeah, I think it's a big problem. I think that the map system is really frustrating to deal with. If you're trying to get a specific event, if you're trying to play with your friends, not being able to get in is really, really annoying. It sucks. And I think the lack of transparency in the LFG, if a map is full or not, or if a map is, you know, if it's got no one in it, like if it's even got the meta event on it, right? Like these things, I think, are quite annoying and a little bit difficult to deal with for a new player. So I think there should be a much higher degree of transparency with the map instancing system in Guild Wars 2. That's my take. That is my take.
Yeah. I mean, I would tend to agree. Well, and not just for the map system, but for a lot of different parts of the game. The more transparent things are, the easier it is to understand. I mean, you wouldn't even believe the amount of times where somebody's like, I can't see any of you guys. Where are you? I'm in the map. I'm at the waypoint. Yeah, you're in a different instance. What do you mean different instance? You're in the same map, but a different one. And it's like really hard to explain this to new players when they can't see it, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like it's in front of you. And then you have to be like, oh, well, we're on IP 57. And they go, what do you mean IP 57? How do I look at the IP? And you have to, like, there's just like a lot of explaining to do with these sorts of things.
Exactly. And I think making it more intuitive, making it more obvious what's going on, is very important, actually. It's very, very important indeed. And I think there was a lot of frustration, and there will probably continue to be a good amount of frustration, actually, with some of these open world events, some of these open world bosses. I think they will continue to be annoying. So we need to fix that. And I think it's actually a high priority, right? You know, I've been thinking about things that would be high priority fixes. And I actually think that looking at stuff like the way maps work and the way maps are visible to the audience, visible to the players, I think it's actually one of the things that I would value pretty damn highly, actually. Because it is such an important part of the game. It is, you know, open world is the big thing in Guild Wars 2. That is where all of the content is. That's where all players are going to end up first, at the very, very least. So making sure that that's accessible, making sure that it's obvious, and giving, I think even giving the player a bit of control over it would be good. Maybe being able to make new maps is maybe a little bit over the top, but I think knowing when a new map is going to be created, right, that will be pretty good to know. Because, you know, obviously, if you can make as many maps as you want, one, probably not great for the servers for Guild Wars 2, and two, yeah, you can get a little bit gatekeepy with that, but I think it would be really nice if you would know when a new map is going to be created. So you can then respond to that. So you can kind of, because you can already do this. You can force a map to be created by having loads of people join at the same time. And then you can just find out whoever made it into the new one, then everyone joins on them. I think if that was just a bit more easy to determine when that was going to happen, so you could actually plan around it if you want to do a guild event, for example, an organized run of a meta event, or you just want to get your friends in, right? You just want to have a new map, so you know, so your friends can come and play with you. All these things are really important. I think we need some transparent data. I want to see how many people are on the map. I want to see if the map's full or not. I want to see the IP of the map being displayed so you know what it is, or give it an ID so you know what map you're on at the same time. All that stuff. Boom. That's how it is.
I have an idea then.
What's the idea?
What if you went into the LFG,
yep,
and it said, you know, what map it was? Because, I don't know, if you were in like raids or something, they were already in an instance, you'd want to be able to see that. I'm just thinking like for consistency, it would have to work in every facet in LFG. But what would happen is it would show you how many tags there are in the map. It would have an out of X, so however large the population is allowed to be in the map, and tell you how many people are in there, how many tags are in there. So if you're trying to like get a guild squad in, you don't like go and purposefully bombard some other random guild, you know? And then you could have it so there's like even like a meta timer, like that there's or whatever message was you wanted to put in the LFG. So, or maybe no, that might be confusing. Should the commanders be able to put a message? Maybe you just have like all the maps there. How many people are in it? Is there a tag? Oh, and put the IP number. That's what I was going to say. Put the IP next to it as well.
Yeah, that would be good. I definitely think if they... you know, I'm not... I don't think we should show if there's a commander. Because I think players would... I think that would almost like... wait, do we do that? I'm a little worried about statements like that because...
It's twofold, right? Because one, you know if they're going to do the meta or they're doing some group activity in there if there's a commander tag.
Yeah.
If there's no commander tag, then you know that you're free to go in as the commander and not sort of bombard someone else's fun.
Yep.
Because as it currently stands, you just have to run in there, you know?
Are you not a little bit worried, though, that it would...
How does this work with things like private tags? Would it just not show if the tag is private?
I presume it wouldn't, yeah. What about mentor tags?
Then you just have like a whole people on a map with a private tag, and people would join and be like, what's going on here? And then everyone would just be silent. A little bit weird, right?
That would indeed be a little bit weird.
Would say, Teapot is giving away a legendary weapon in Lion's Arch right now.
Oh, yeah?
You must go there.
Yeah. Oh, do you have experience with that, Sneb? Do you have any...
People, look, you were the scapegoat. People in my maps used to go crazy in Dragon's End to like get in or to get their friends in. I had people that would say, MightyTeapot is giving away legendaries in Lion's Arch right now. And then they'd like link the waypoint. And I would just be like, people, we don't really need to do that. Like, it's going to be fine. But yeah, it was not good.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty intense stuff. But yeah, I just think that if the player base had more control over this, right, they'd be able to. I think it would be a lot less frustrating. And yeah, I think it's
kind of
be
annoying
easier
to
for
tell
players to get
people
into.
It's super annoying when you're in Dragon's End and you're like, people, you have a hope of getting in. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can
just
maybe
keep
get
trying.
in.
But you don't know if they actually have a hope, right? Like it could be 60-60 and the 10 people that aren't in your squad are all fishing, right? You don't know. So it would be nicer to just be like, yeah, we know that the map has 55 people in it right now. And so if you try to get in, you'll get in.
How do you feel about a queue system for joining the map?
I don't really. I feel like I'm kind of indifferent to the queue system. I mean, we already have that for World versus World, so I don't see why it wouldn't work necessarily. But here's the one issue I do see with the queue system is people all queue for a map and then they will do nothing in the other map. So not having a queue system kind of encourages people to take some ownership and just like pop some tags and get things going in a new map.
Yeah. Don't
you think? I mean,
but
that's what happens to me. You go to Chalk, can't get into a map, just pop some tags, get another one going.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? What if you could do both at the same time? So in other words, if you wanted to... Because here's the thing, what actually happens? You know what normally happens, Sneb? If someone can't get into a map, they AFK and spam join until they get in, or they just give up and they don't get in. That's what normally happens.
It's true.
So, why not make it to, in other words, kind of encourage both? So you can be queuing to enter a map with a commander in it, and then, well, you might as well play the game, right? Like, you might as well do something else at the same time. So that kind of alleviates the issue, I think. So if you can queue, instead of spamming right-click to join, you're just going, all right, well, if I get in, I get in. Might as well try and get this map going at the same time.
Will it force you to leave queue if you leave map?
You'd have to be on the same map, I guess, right?
Yes,
because otherwise
So as long as you're on the same map, you are good.
Yeah, you'd have to, otherwise the game is going to get confused, right? The game is not going to know what the hell's going on. So it would have to be that way, I think. But yeah, other than that, you could do whatever you want. And you could have, on top of that, how would you feel if there was a bonus reward for playing on a dead map? Or is that too abusable?
Define dead map. I think you'd have to crunch some numbers there, but like...
Oh, you know, we've all been here in this situation, Sneb. You know, it's Chak. Okay, I want my Chak. Sneb, I want the Chak exec. I want the Chak attack. But oh no, I've arrived late, and it's 7 minutes to go, and there's no tags on my map. And there's like 3 players. What if the game says, well, you know what? If you actually play on this map and you actually juice up, it will give you a magic find boost, or an XP boost, or a something boost.
Yeah, so, I feel like that's abusable. I mean, you're basically just saying put outnumbered in open world, and we all know how outnumbered was.
It was abused, but do you know why outnumber was a problem? Outnumber was a problem because if enough
because of the pip system.
No, outnumber was a problem because if enough people did it, you were incentivized to not group up with other players, right? Because if you did that, then you'd lose outnumbered. What I'm saying here is that if a map is deemed to be like a late map, there's not many people on it, and it's an event's about to start, then it would say, well, this is a late map, so anyone who gives it a shot is going to get some rewards for doing that. Yeah. And that would encourage players to actually just participate with each other. Whereas outnumbered doesn't. It actually actively encourages you to hide it. Like, if there's outnumbered, you don't tell anyone else there's outnumbered because then you're going to lose your pip bonus, right? And I'm aware, guys, that you have the volunteer's blessing that encourages you to basically leave, like, dead maps. But that's not the same thing. Like, that's not dead maps. That's maps that are basically being shut down, right? That are being wound down, basically. That's not actually quite the same thing. I'm just talking about maps that just don't have a lot of players on them, right? And aren't being organized, right? We want to almost like encourage players to, instead of like just spamming to join another map, to stay on their current map. We want to incentivize players to stay on their current one right now and try and make it work as much as possible. And you know what? I think, and think about it. Wouldn't the system that we're talking about here actually really solve this problem or make this problem a lot better? Because if you think about it, if every map was visible in the LFG or somewhere in the game, wouldn't that mean that players would automatically start spamming join on maps that don't have any tags or LFGs attached to them because they'd go for it anyway? So they'd try and make it work. So I think that what we're talking about here, just increasing the transparency of the map system, would drastically help, actually, with this concept of maps even being dead, because players would actually be able to surge onto them and notice that there's a map available that doesn't have anything going on, right? They'll be able to get in and maybe attempt to actually beat the event. What do you think? Seb is locked in thought right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see that stuff working.
Wait, what? Why do you think it would work?
I don't know. You want to encourage people to keep trying. It's kind of the same as PvP, right? Like, you want to encourage people to keep going, but how do you do that without it being abused? I don't know. I don't see a way in which it would make sense at all.
Well, I mean, every system can be abused, but that doesn't mean that we should just not do anything, right? Because, you can look, stuff like, rewards in any game mode. You can like AFK farm them and abuse them that way, and like login rewards. You can abuse login rewards by having 5 million accounts. Doesn't mean they're bad though, does it? Right? Like,
is that abusing login rewards?
Oh, definitely.
Just accessing them excessively.
Oh yeah, it's definitely abuse. Like, you're exploiting a system, right? Like, you've found the system and you found some way to get more value
is it
out of it.
Exploiting if you're paying for it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, exploit in I guess the literal definition of the word, right? You're exploiting a resource that you've been able to obtain, right? In a way that's, maybe you're getting more out of it than ArenaNet intended,
Okay, all right.
But seriously, look, make every map visible. That is gigabrain play. How can you say that's not gigabrain, Steb? It's 9-head.
Make every map. I mean, I'm not. I'd be curious to see what happens in the community with that. I don't know. Would it be more positive?
What do you think would be the downsides?
The downsides are... Well, I don't know that there's any huge downside. That's why I'm trying to think, like, how would people abuse that? Like, would it be worse anyway? If everyone could just see all of the maps all the time?
I don't think so.
Would you want people to know where every character is? I don't know.
Well, they wouldn't know where your character is. They just know that there's a map. They wouldn't know who's on that map. They would just know that the map exists.
There'd be no identification of who's in the map?
No. There'd be no identification. You wouldn't be able to know unless you were in the squad, right? If you were on the squad, you would know what map to join, I guess. It would, like, you'd be able to determine where your squad is. If you were in a squad, it would, like, highlight, oh, your squad is on this map, right? Or your commander, rather, is on this map. Something like that.
We're basically talking about a slightly more advanced Guild Wars 1 system, no?
Yes. I think Guild Wars 1 was good. Obviously, they didn't... The difference is, people always like to circle jerk the Guild Wars 1 system. What people tend to forget is that the Guild Wars 1 system with districts only existed, right, in towns and cities, right? You would go out into private instances exclusively in the open world. Well, not the open world, right, but in the world. And for missions too, it was private instances. So it's not like they actually had this in Guild Wars 1, where you could, like, change on the fly to any, like, version of the map. But yeah, sure. Like, essentially, like, just a bit more control over swapping where you go. Because right now, I think you can just get memed, right? You just get completely trapped. I think it's very outdated. I think Ender Dragons showed us this, that it is not really up to standard with what we want right now. Particularly seeing as we know that ArenaNet want to bring in a lot of new players. It's not good enough. The map system must be changed, and it must be updated, Sneb.
Yeah, if you make it more visible... How does that interact with the LFG exactly? Because I sort of started this thought process of, oh, okay, well, you could put this in the LFG, but what does that look like? Is there a whole other system for joining a map, or is it integrated with the LFG? Do you merge the LFG? Is this an update to the LFG? What does this look like exactly?
Yeah, it would be probably an update. I think it would almost have to be a bit of a different category here, because yeah, it obviously has some overlap with the LFG for sure. But yeah,
well, no, it's not just overlap. It's a big problem because you could have two different people that that try to LFG the same map. I don't know. Well, I mean that kind of already happens now, I guess, but it's just weird because you could pop into one of these maps and then you could put in the LFG, but then a bunch like a hero point train could see your map is not very full and I'll just jump into it.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I guess those problems still somewhat exist, but it's just weird that they wouldn't be in the same place. Like, I guess you'd have to be looking at 2 places at once all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely the concern. It would create this multiple ways of joining
your map that aren't interested in engaging with what you're doing as a squad constantly, just because they see the map is full.
Well, what if there was a?
Am I wrong there?
Okay, well maybe. This is a good point. This is definitely a tough problem. What would you do about this? I mean, maybe you can't go quite as far as making everything publicly visible. Then maybe all you can do is say if the map is full or not, I guess, or what IP it is. Maybe. My goal is to not. My goal is not to prevent players from making semi-private instances at all. My goal is to make the system more transparent for everyone. So you know if a map is full. You know if you could join this other map to get in. To get into a more active map. Or just to create your own map, for example. My goal is to increase the transparency. That's it. Because I think it's just... the lack of transparency is actually really bad, to be honest.
Yeah, then that accomplishes it. Then it's fine. Yeah, then you just have to deal with the... I mean, this already exists, so it's really not that bad, I guess. You just have to live with the fact that people will continue to treat the game in the open world like private instances, and will try to force new maps and stuff.
But people already do that, though, right? That's why I don't think it's a big deal.
You just have to live with that, and that's fine. I
mean, in some... Look, I don't want to be overly flippant here, but wouldn't everyone actually like that? Isn't that like actually a win-win-win-win-win-win-win? Because...
Well, not really, because...
Well, because players don't like it when we try... Yeah, but players don't like it when we go and do our own thing and try and set up like guild events and stuff like that. People don't like it. They get upset.
True. They do hate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So why not just let us do our own thing, right? And we can just fuck off, you know? And it is a win for the Peepos because they'd still be able to... They wouldn't be able to join any less than they already can now. It doesn't really have much of a downside to it.
I feel like we're kind of saying the same thing, but we're kind of each maybe missing the point. My point is that I actually think that the opposite might occur because people can see the maps that are empty and then they can it's even easier to gatekeep it is what I'm trying to get at. I think it becomes easier because everything's so transparent and you can just see what's going on. People are like, okay, we are going to set up our group, wait for this map. People are doing this now, but I think it could get worse. No, they would say like link 250 Li to join my Dragon's End, and they would like group up in Eye the North or in Arborstone or something. They would go, okay, 3, 2, 1, we're going to IP68, and they're like, all right, nice, and they occupy the entire map instantly. It is effectively an instanced map because they could get 60 people. They'd have 2 tags. They'd get 60 people in there immediately. Mm-hmm. Whereas right now, it is actually very difficult to completely occupy a map. You will always have a few or a handful of random players.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just the consequence of that. And is that horrible? I don't know. I mean, it would enable people that like to do like the challenges and stuff. Like Artie's been doing some challenges lately, the All Mechanist run. I've done a bunch of those challenges. It enables you to really structure your groups like an instance. But maybe what I'm suggesting is that at some point that's so close to private instance, why not just make the private instance?
Because I don't really think this would be much of a shift towards a private instance. Not that much, anyway. Not more than it already is. And maybe it would make it like a teeny bit
if you
easier.
could see the maps that are empty, then wouldn't that be like joining a private instance?
I mean, not really, because you'd still get...
You just flood it all at once, and now
Yeah,
it's
but
a private instance.
you'd still get a bunch of random people on the map, right? Like a few
Not
at
if
least.
it's at 0 and you all join immediately. Like,
yeah,
you could probably
zero,
manipulate
right?
the system to force the map open, just like people kind of do now. But this would give you the numbers, so it'd be way less work. You just like force opening maps, like you're like telling your squad to join other maps and whatever, and then all at once you're like, okay, everyone go to this new map, and then you just effectively kill a whole bunch of other maps. I don't know. I could just see that being a bit of a problem.
I mean,
no?
I'm not sure if I do, because you can do this right now. And yeah, it makes it easier to...
Yeah, what I'm saying is that it makes what's going on right now easier.
It does, but almost nobody does it, and I don't think many people would do it even after this change. I don't think it makes it that much easier as well, because I think whenever a map was on 0, well, one, you'd have to catch it exactly when it was on 0, which would be non-trivial to do, but also, the game would immediately start assigning players to that new map anyway, right?
I guess that's true. Maybe it wouldn't be that much different.
Yeah. And I think that you could argue that that's definitely a con of doing something like this, like a negative, but I think the pros vastly outweigh it. I think the increase in transparency and how much less frustrating it's going to be to get onto a map and see what's available, like when you're trying to join, not to get constantly bombarded with, oh, it's full, it's full, it's full, it's full, right? I think that that's much more of an advantage compared to the slight negative that, yeah, if you really want to, it will be slightly easier to make a semi-private instance. Because
if you make it easier, more people will do it. It's science. That if you make it easier, more people do it. Absolutely. This happened with smoking. If you make cigarettes cheaper, more people will smoke. It's just, it is what it is. And so I think if you make effectively having private instances more accessible to people, I think more people will just do it because it's less of a hassle, and then it's easier to kill the boss because you LI gatekeep it and get 50 people in there.
I just don't see this, to be honest, at all. I don't, and I know that people would probably
but
do
right
this.
now you have to spam join, right, to get in.
But it's easy. Like
what you're saying is that they'd all be able to insta join, right? Because they'd be able to, you like look, you see that there's 50 open slots, your squad instantly joins. And takes over the map,
but the thing is, you're going to be so... Dude, people are so slow, right? Like, this idea that everyone's going to be there instantly joining, I think is ridiculous. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, well, in that, if that doesn't happen, then it's just annoying because people are going to be swapping maps so much to try to get everyone in.
I mean,
right? They're gonna
people
be like,
do this anyway, though.
This time.
People already do this, though.
I know, but now it's more accessible. Now they have the numbers in front of them. They go, okay, we can't get those last 3 people in. There's no hope. We are leaving the map.
Are people actually going to do that, though? Would people actually do that?
100%
really?
Would.
I kind of don't believe it, to be honest. I'm not sure if I see it.
Like, if you had 10 people that didn't get in and you saw the map was 60-60, you might, like, I mean, it depends if these are pugs or not. You might just cast them aside, or, which would suck if you're one of those people, or you could just be like, yeah, we're going to switch maps to get those other 10 people in because there's a map that is currently 3 out of 60. Let's go. Everybody joins that map. You get everybody in instantly. The other map is abandoned.
Realistically, though, how many groups are going to do that?
I don't know. I'm just saying it could happen.
I feel like only the try-hard groups would do that, no? For this stuff?
This is a good point. I mean, you're coming from the perspective of EU. I'm coming from NA.
Oh, no.
NA hard gatekeeps this stuff because I wish I had data on this, but my perception is that the average player does less DPS and boon output on NA compared to EU. I have no idea why that is, but I'll just say that when I go into raids on EU, it is a very different experience, the LFG, and I think that people would hard gatekeep NA. Because they just don't want to deal with that stuff. They would just and it would just make it even worse. Yeah, I think it would. I don't know. You just have to be careful about that. The real question should be, how do you mitigate that problem?
I mean,
do you put like a
mitigate
cap
that, though?
on how many times you can switch maps?
Thing is,
for example?
I think in that case, if this is true, and just for the sake of argument, I feel like I should just concede, right? Because I don't think I have. I mean, in that case, yeah, you can't make it public. In that case, man, I would just love that system. It'd be so good, I think. But I guess if it can't be done, it can't be done. You know.
Well, I mean, is it the worst? I mean, the other conversation you could have is it the worst thing if that starts getting gate capped?
Definitely, yeah, it's horrible. Like
is it the worst? Like,
look, imagine Lil Timmy. Like, he's like, oh boy, I can't wait to join Dragon's End. Pog, I'm so excited to fight Suwon, End of Dragon's leader, and then
Suwon he joins, hammer fists him into the underworld.
No, he just tries it. He's like, oh boy, I joined this map, and then people go, oh shit, look at this piece of shit that just joined. Lil Timmy joined our map, ruined it, and they all leave.
I mean, this is very pessimistic. I generally think that people are kind and that they would do the right thing, but I do fear that there would be some hard gatekeeping because it already exists. People have told me, they've said, on NA, there are groups that are requiring raid builds, that are asking for LI, that are doing all kinds of things. Now, the weird thing is I haven't experienced this very much. I've seen some of those groups in the LFG, but I haven't ever entered one. But apparently what they do is they vet everybody, get a whole group of 50, and then they just try to force open a map and get everybody in so that they can exclude anyone that doesn't meet their criteria.
Okay,
which sucks.
Fine.
And if that was public, they would do it harder.
Fine. I lose the debate. But I will not budge on map full status being shown and a map queue system, so you can know if you're going to get in or if you can, or how many other players are trying to join. I will not concede on that. I will concede that if we make all maps public, there is a chance that it could become incredibly scuffed.
So what if we hybridize this? Because I could agree to the LFG. When somebody puts up an LFG, it shows what IP they're in automatically. So that system is more clear to people.
Yep.
And then it also shows it could either show the number, and again, maybe there's problems with showing the number, or it could just show if it's full.
Yes.
Or even maybe there's a range, right? If there's 1 to 20 people, it's green. If there's 21 to 40, it's yellow. And then there's red plus, and then it's full. You know, just kind of like how the servers show that there's low, medium, high.
Exactly.
They could do something like that.
Yeah. I know. I like that. I like where we're going with this. I like the juice. You know.
We do also have to sort of check our own bias here, because when you and I make groups, whether it's on NA or EU, we generally will have a group of at least 20 people that are pretty competent, right? Like really solid players, know the game very well, know the mechanics of whatever we're doing very well, and we're very unlikely to fail. Very unlikely if we're leading. Yeah. But I think the average squad leader, they don't necessarily have that, and so what's going to happen is that's when they can try to check if they're going to lead. They'll do those requirements, right? And they will you don't want to enable people to exclude others too hard, right? I think this maybe sounds odd, but to some extent gatekeeping is kind of okay, right? You don't
that's a clip.
They're gonna take it out of context. That's fine. But if you take somebody that's level 1, you don't want to throw them into strikes. They don't have any skills, you know? You don't want to take somebody who just hit level 80 and throw them into raids. They won't have any gear. So to an extent, you kind of want to push people into the direction that they need to go to prepare for these events and things. But when we're talking open world stuff, for the most part, it's pretty accessible. And for people to gatekeep with 250 LI, it's not good for the game. I don't think so, because you want open world to be a place where everyone is in the mix and they can communicate and learn things and basically just be given that agency to participate and to grow as a player. And if you don't give them that, they will never learn anything, because right now the game doesn't teach them all of the things they need to know very well. And so the community takes a big role in helping players learn mechanics and learn their class and share builds and stat ideas and those sorts of things. And it's important that open world remain a place where that can happen. Does that happen all the time? No. But there's a lot of people that they'll be in a squad and they'll be like, hey, this is my first time doing this. Can somebody explain the mechanics? That's one of the big issues with raids, right? Is that somebody goes in and they say, this is my first time doing this. Can somebody explain the mechanics? And somebody says, no, LMAO noob, and they can't, right? And then they never learn the mechanics and they never raid. So we don't want that to happen in open world, because then players will never be able to get to the next step.
Exactly. That would be tough, right? That would be not ideal. Yeah. I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about in general. And that's why I really want to make the map system as transparent as possible, because I want players to be able to get involved, right? Look, we've all been there, Sneb. It's annoying when you spam join. It sucks.
It does suck. So I didn't say that the queue system is inherently bad.
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
What if you chuck the IP on? Maybe you say if the map is full or not, and then you allow for a queue.
Yep. That's what we do. We do that. But I think that I don't know. I think it actually is important to show metrics like how many people are in the queue, how many people are actually on the map right now.
Oh, yeah, it should absolutely show how many people are in the queue, but should it show the number? Well, actually, that would just indicate that it's full. So is it fine to show when it's full and how many people are in the queue, but not fine to show how many people are actually directly in the map?
I think it's fine.
Give a range?
I think it's fine to show how many people are in the map. I don't think people will be... How could you even be weird about that? How could you be mad at someone for joining a random open world map?
People do, believe it or not, but it's a small amount of people. I don't think there's that much negative consequence to doing that. I think it'd be interesting to just see what it would be like in the community if you did that. I think people, for the most part, it would be a positive. I think it'd be a net positive overall.